remarkable, successful 30-year titan in business with having multiple businesses that generate multiplied millions of dollars.
And if that plan happens to be to build $1 million company, which I can help you do.
But he's humble. He's a man of God. He's a family man.
The world's news organizations are built on everything but positivity.
He is an influential entrepreneur and business speaker for over 30 years.
I've got to forecast. I've got to pronounce. I've got to project. I've got to share with you my ideas, my vision, my goals for not only myself, but for you.
That's why he's came up with his incredible concept of taking and creating a platform for people that are wired differently.
And you got to understand that your habits of your person and your habits of your business and your habits of your spirituality have to lead to the North Star of who you are. We need to figure out who we want to be in life.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is Wednesday morning. I got a great day for you. I got a great things to talk about. I'm just going to kind of go over my events this morning because I was trying to think what my day. I was up last night thinking about this show, what we were going to do, the mindset, the movement, the mission, make your own moment. And I had these stories that were rambling in my head and what kind of happens in my life and how I think through things. And I just wanted to challenge you this morning. A lot of times in our life, the things just aren't moving fast enough or not moving in a direction we want them to move. And I think that we sometimes forget that all of that is incumbent on us. And it's our job to make our own movement, right? It's our job to make our own madness, our own mission, our own message. And I just thought that I could kind of talk to you all about some of the things that's happened in my life, some of the things I'm coaching people to do in their lives. But at the end of the day, you know, we are in charge. We're incumbent on our own future. We're incumbent on our own mindset, our own movement, our own mission. We're incumbent on making those things happen. And I grew up obviously with an epic father. I've talked about him a lot, and it was always kind of funny how growing up, no matter what he did, he would make it look like it was his idea. Like, I don't know obviously fathers are great. And, people like that in your life where no matter what happens, it's like they made it happen. I remember one time when I was little as a boy and my father was out in the tool shed. And he was always, I can't have anything. I can't have everything in my own. I can't have my own tools. I can't, because the kids are always getting into everything and we would lose stuff and leave it out, I guess. And I can't have anything of my own. I would, I can hear it right now. I give my whole life to all you kids in this family, and I just want this one hammer. Where's my hammer? Damn it. But this one particular incident, we were out in the garage or something. He grabbed his hammer or something, and something flipped up, and he threw the hammer up in the air to make a point or something, and it landed, bounced off the wooden table, and it came up around, and he caught the hammer right perfectly by the handle, and I'm like, wow, Dad, did you plan that? He goes, yes, I did. Wow, Dad, that's amazing. So like anything fabulous that happened was never by accident with my dad. He was like Mr. Epic, Mr. Moment, right? Mr. Madness, Mr. like, here's the message. And, if you plan it, you can blow. Well, I'm calling BS, Dad. I'm 58 right now, and I know damn well that was an accident. You're not fooling me anymore. But I guess the point I wanted to make with you is that what I did get from Mr. Epic or Mr. Moment or Mr. Madness was that, man, we've got to make our own moments. We've got to promote ourselves. We've got to be our own biggest fan. And I was going to tell you a few stories about that this morning. But I want to kind of catch you up on some things. So last night I got a phone call from a friend I met at the Super Bowl. His name was Roman Gabriel, and I just want to give Roman Gabriel a shout out. What a super guy. His father was a prolific football player in the NFL many, many years ago. Roman Gabriel, I believe he played. I'm going to mess this up. I feel like the Eagles and maybe the Rams. But I was a little boy, and Roman Gabriel was amazing. And when I was out at the Super Bowl this year, I ran into Roman Gabriel because my good friend Darren Gray had pushed me to go to the Super Bowl to present the movie that I showed you the other day about my father, The Tiger in Us. I actually gave that movie. I gave that speech to the team, to many NFL players. Got a standing ovation. And Roman wasn't at that event, but I went to another event that he was doing, his not-for-profit called Sold Out. And so I went to the Sold Out, and I got to coach with some players and some kids. And Sold Out is an amazing youth foundation that Roman created I got it right here, somewhere around 2003, I want to say. He's been doing this a long time, as long as I've been doing Pacer, ironically enough. And Sold Out's mission is to educate, encourage, and challenge students to live a life of alcohol and drug abstinence while delivering a 100% online student video curriculum of life skills and overall health, wellness, and fitness education platforms to the public and private schools. And so as we were talking, he asked me what my passion was. I said the gospel and coaching people up and encouraging, loving, and doing things in the Wire Different mission. And he liked my message, and we talked for a little bit. He says, I'm going to give you a call sometime. And so he gave me a call. We talked a little bit. And last night he invited me to be on the board. And so I'm pleased to announce that I'll be on the board of Sold Out, and we'll be having a prominent position at the Super Bowl here coming up. Super Bowl, I know my 58, I believe, Super Bowl 58. Because that's how old I am, and Las Vegas. So I'm super excited about that. So a round of applause for me for being involved in Sold Out and changing the world with Roman Gabriel and some great men out there. We're going to be getting into schools with curriculum to help kids understand to stay away from drugs. Mostly fentanyl is our primary target. And so I'm excited to talk about that in a Wire Differently with that board. So that's some kind of good news I wanted to talk to you about. And today, I think at 1:00, I go do another podcast on my podcast tour, Embracing My Your Brilliance. And I'm excited to talk about that. Let's see if I even got something here. I think I had something prepared for you. Brand. Let's see here. Yes, here's the podcast. Mentor Nation with John Abbas. Embrace Your Unconventional Brilliance is my podcast tour. And I really want to talk to you about this because the podcast tour is one of the things I'm going to make a moment out for you, or a moment, a movement, a mission, a mindset. And I really want to encourage you with how to build your own way, to be your own biggest fan, endorse yourself, promote yourself. And this is really what I'm doing right here. So we might as well dive into it right now. I'm promoting myself, because if I don't promote myself, no one else is going to promote me. I got to start the ball moving. Now, my team put this together, but I asked them to start to promote this podcast tour. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And here is actually Sold Out. Sold Out is the youth foundation. You can go to soldout.com, check out this movement. If you want to help me get involved in this amazing thing for the children, the youth of this country, and we're changing the world through the parents, the curriculum, and the absence of drugs, alcohol, and we're going to be taking fentanyl, the biggest killer in America right now, some crazy, I'll get the stats, around 70,000 a day, or some crazy whacked out number of kids and their lives being taken. And so I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that's what was going on with. I also wanted to kind of just touch base on this submarine issue, man. I don't know if anybody are following this, but this submarine issue is whack. So we got to put our prayers out for the families of the people missing in the submarine. If you're not catching up on the submarine, I just want you to understand basically what happened. Some rich dudes created a submarine, and they wanted to go down to the bottom of the ocean, some million miles, to see this sunken Titanic in person. Three or four men paid $250,000 to go down in a submarine and get those pictures and see it firsthand, I guess. Within an hour and a half, the submarine disappeared, and they haven't seen it for almost 2 days now. And what I understand is that they have limitless, they're about ready to run out of oxygen. They can't find him on the GPS. They can't find him. They don't know. The damn thing disappeared. I don't know. I'm not going down in a submarine to see the Titanic. I can see the pictures from up here just fine. But man, I wish this wouldn't have happened. And I hope they can find these people and somehow they can come out of this with oxygen and float. But it doesn't look good. Anyway, so that's what's going on in the submarine. That's what's good. But I want to talk to you about your mindset, your mission, and all the things that are going on, and make your own moment. I mean, my dad, I talked to this story about my dad. The hammer went up flying. It came down, hit the wooden table, flopped back up, and he caught it perfectly. And he just said, of course, son, I planned the whole thing. He made his own moment. He created the moment. He created the energy. He's Mr. Epic. He always made something happen in our life when he was coaching or when he was teaching. It was really a sight to behold. And so what I wanted to kind of do is kind of introduce you one of the videos I've made to kind of pump you up a little bit and just introduce you to the very beginning of Wired Differently. Wired Differently, the mindset, the mission, the movement in the ministry. But here's a video I created a while back. And I just kind of wanted to make sure everybody could see it. It's on YouTube. If you go to my YouTube channel, we've got to get this channel going. It's Todd Saylor Wired Differently on YouTube. But this is kind of something to get you going and understand about this. Make your own moment. I'm going to challenge you this morning to make your own moment, right? And here we go. Here's one of my early videos of Wired Differently, mindset, mission, and make your own moment.
We got three things to get accomplished here. We got to believe. We got to prepare. We got to attack. Today is not jokes. Today is not messing around. Today is my day for you. I prepared all year long for this. One opportunity with you guys. We're wired different, and we got to know why.
You'd be surprised at how many people really identify with this idea of being wired different. It's a good thing to be wired different. It's a good thing to feel good about yourself. You know, I remember growing up, not fitting in. I remember getting picked on and bullied. I remember one time, I'll be honest with you, being held up against a wall as a 7th grader in a middle school by 2 big 8th graders and a guy hitting me in the face. I was helpless. You know, I remember having to go home and explain to my parents what had happened and have a reason for that. And I didn't have a reason. I think it's okay to be vulnerable. I think it's okay to say I might be bipolar. It's okay to say I might be depressed. It's okay. You know, I think we hide and we store these things up and we run from them and we try to put on different face and different masks. When in fact, a wired differently person says, here I am. This is who I am. This is the way I respond. And you know what? I didn't do that right, but I'm sorry for it. And I'm going to work on that. It's okay to screw up. It's okay to get back up. I think it's important that we acknowledge who we are, what we're going to do, what we're going to be, and what we were. You need to be willing, though, to lose who you are to become who you want to be. Wired differently people do that. Wired differently people take those big moves. Where it's okay to look silly, it's okay to be laughed at, it's okay to stretch ourselves to the point where we might be ostracized, you know?
My job is to inspire you. My job is to motivate you. My job is to love you. My job is not to care about anything but you right now. My job is to show you these things. My job is to make you feel like I'm crazy because I'm crazy about you. How do you get to that point? You got to live your life like it's 4th and 1. 4th and 1. Because after today, you can't watch something like that and say, hey, I'm just like everybody else. Because you're not. You play at Shrine. You play football. You're going to have family. You're going to have lives. You're going to have children. And you can't be quitters. We're not like that. That's the easy way. I hate it. I hate the fact that some of you might walk out here and say, I quit something. We don't quit. We watch things like this and we decide. We're not going to waste the moment. We decide that we're going to be better than whoever the hell they are. We decide when we get up in the morning that our little daughters are going to be safe. And if we're ever called to serve this country, we're going to do it with pride and dignity, and we're going to love our Lord. That's who we are. And I know this is crazy.
Man, over and over and over. I beg you. I watched that video and I'm like, gosh, that was me. I think, gosh, that was me. That was that moment. That was that mission. That was that mindset. That was something that only I could make happen in my life. And there's some. And when I'm watching this video again with you guys live, I'm like, I beg you, right? And I want to beg you, just like I begged those men in that football message, 2014. I mean, gosh, it's 9 years ago already. 2014, 10 years. That was before Wired Differently was official. Those when I was out speaking in colleges and doing motivational stuff, and that was one of the what I feel is an epic moment for me. But I want you to understand I think it was an epic moment for those men. They went out and won that football game. Of course, they won the football game. But at the end of the day, I was begging them to make their own moments. I was begging them to make that moment happen in that movement in their life. They have to jumpstart that. And that's what I wanted to actually encourage you and talk to you about today. This is really the only message I want you to understand is that you are only going to be you. You are only going to be the one. You can get all the coaching you want. And I'm coaching you right now. I'm coaching you up right now. But I'm telling you that the coach can't make the switch in your head, make your own movement. Can't make that own moment. And so one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is I have a story I want to tell you about a good friend by the name of Jerry Vogel. It's a good example of me as a younger man. And then I want to talk to you about my podcast. But the story I just kind of wanted to share with you this morning was I was 2000, it was 1996 or 97. And I was becoming the leading salesperson in a publicly traded company called ESI. And the old guard's name was Jerry Vogel. He was the number one salesperson in the country for this company. He was a staple. He'd damn near invented the industry. But I was a coming 30-year-old, and I was really, really selling a lot. And matter of fact, I felt like I was the number one salesman in the country. And I was going to Phoenix, Arizona to get the award for being what I believed was going to be the number one salesman. And I'd always heard about Jerry Vogel, and turns out Jerry Vogel and I became very good friends, but he was significantly older than me. But when I finally got to Phoenix, Arizona, I was in front of the Biltmore Hotel. We were getting ready to check in or stay there. And lo and behold, this epic legend walks up. He's like 6'2", 6'3", 70-year-old man, just beautiful. He was an Adonis of a man from New York City. And he knew who I was, and I knew who he was. And I remember running into him and thinking, man, you've got to make the moment now. You have got to not be intimidated by this legend. You cannot let him know that he may be in your head. You have to flip the script. You have to be in his head. You're number one. He's not number one. It's time to change the thing around. My moment is here, and it happened. So I remember saying hello to him. I remember shaking his hand, and he kind of smirked at me. He said, "So you're Todd Saylor. Nice to meet you." I said, "So you're Jerry Vogel. It's a pleasure to meet you. We're going to get this award. We're both kind of sizing each other up, right? And it was a fun smile, kind of ego match, right? And I was really no match for this man's ego at that point, right? Like right now, I probably have enough for him, but right then I had to fake a little bit of it. So I shook his hand, and he said, "Maybe I hope I'll see you around sooner." And he said, "Yeah, but I'll be up at 6 o'clock in the morning at the gym on the treadmill." And I remember just kind of locking that in. I locked in the fact that this was going to happen, and he was going to be at the treadmill. So basically what happened was I thought to myself, how can I get my moment? How can I make this moment? How can I create my own production? How can I have my own hammer throw and let it land on the table and grab it in front of Jerry and make sure he knew that I was Mr. Epic and things are produced the way I want them produced? And so I remember thinking to myself, well, I'm going to get there to the gym before him. Before 6 o'clock, I'm going to be in that gym. I'm going to be working out. I'm going to be in this man's head. Matter of fact, how can I challenge him in the gym? And so as I went down to the gym, it was like 5:30 or so, and I looked around, and there was literally only 3 treadmills in this gym. So I remembered myself at 6 o'clock, he's going to get on the treadmill. So I went over to the treadmill at about 5:45 or something like that. And I got on the treadmill. And I remember thinking, you know what? I need him right beside me. So I stopped the treadmill and I decided to unplug the third treadmill, the one on the outside. So he only had one option to get on a treadmill that worked, and he had to be right beside me. And so basically what happened was at around 6 o'clock, old Jerry rolls in, and I'm all sweaty. I already had my pump on, and I'm in there before the old guard. I'm on a treadmill. I'm putting in the paces. I'm already sweating, and I'm in working, and I'm going to last longer than Jerry. I'm going to do the treadmill hard. He goes to the first treadmill. He tries not to get next to me. The treadmill doesn't work. Of course, because Mr. Epic unplugged the treadmill. He comes over, gets next to me, gives me a scowl, hits the treadmill, and starts to train. And immediately after he warms up, he looks at my treadmill, and I'm at, I don't know, I'm probably at 5 or 4, and he amps it up to 5. And so I'm watching him run. No words are being said. We've got a version of headsets on probably back then. And I look over to him, and so I go to 5.5, and then he goes to 6. And then this goes on, and we're moving it up slowly, incrementally, sweating. And I tell myself, I'm not getting off this treadmill until he gets off the treadmill, and I'm never going to go slower than him. And so this internal war of epicness is brewing in this brouhaha. I'm like, I will die before I fall off this. I will die before I let this guy win. This goes on for probably 45 minutes. I've already been on it some 15 to 30 minutes prior to him. And finally, thank God, after bumping this thing up to almost 6.5 or 7 towards the end, Jerry Vogel, the titan of all sales for the last 10, 15 years, steps off the treadmill. And as he steps off the treadmill, he looks at me, a sweaty mess, shakes his head. And what do? I turn the reps up to 7 and 8, and I start to kick it. And all I wanted to do at that moment was make it my moment. Like, there is no way in hell, there is no way in heaven, there's no way ever that this man is ever going to walk out of this gym thinking that I was not going to be the new reigning king of sales of the nation. There's no way. And I remember clearly as day, as soon as he walked out that door, wrapped the towel around his neck and walked out that door, I looked at the door the second time. I hit and I fell off that treadmill and I puked. It's in my second book, Drift Again, but it's a crazy story about making your own moment. Crazy for me. I don't know. Maybe you don't think it's crazy, but I think that what I want you to understand, just like in that video, right? That speech, I wrote that speech, the 4th and 1 speech. I really left my body. I got outside of my body. I wasn't comfortable all the time being that person, but I really got out there. I remember the music that we played for that video. I gave it to one of my salespeople, and he held it over the mic, and he had to start and stop it. And the key word for him to start the music was over and over again, and that was the key word. And another key word was, I beg you. And he was manually moving the music around for me. But what I'm trying to tell you about the Jerry Vogel story is, man, and I'm not bragging, I'm just challenging you to make your moments, right? You have to make your moments. Somebody else is not going to make your moments for you. I'm coaching several of you that are watching right now, and I'm coaching you right now. I'm challenging you, those that I'm even not coaching for pay. I'm coaching you right now. What is epic in your life? What are you going to produce to promote yourself in a good, godly way? What is going to be positive? What is your movement? What is your mindset? What's that moment that you can create today? I created that moment on the treadmill by unplugging one treadmill. My father created a silly moment by throwing a hammer and making the moment work for him because it just happened, and he made it a moment that he did. It made it a moment that he wanted me to believe that he created. It's still a moment. It's still with me in my head. I'm 58 years old. I'm still remembering this time in the garage when he was carrying on about this or that, and the hammer flies and he catches it so perfectly. It's a moment that he made. He promoted himself, right? He was his own fan, right? And I promoted myself when I went to the gym, and I was promoting myself to make sure that I was challenging this man, creating this role for myself as the national salesperson of the year. I did it 3 years over. I was the #1 salesperson in the industry for 3 years in the entire nation, not just the company, but entire nation. After that, it was crazy, but that moment propelled me. That mindset propelled me. That moment right there was the setup for me to become what I was going to become in that sales moment. My father created moments. And what I'm wanting to just kind of close with you right now is this podcast moment, right? I showed this to you, and I just want to give you an example in business, right? So we don't have 100 speaking engagements. So we want to create a moment. We want to create the mission, the mindset. We want to create a movement around this new book, Your Will Be Done. And this is what we created. I created a podcast tour, right? I don't know. I'm sure people do them, but I haven't seen them. But I'm just like, okay, let's book 20 podcasts and let's create a tour. I've made this moment. Today will be my 3rd podcast interview, and we're going to hype each interview as we take it. And then we're going to hype each interview that's going to be released when the real live podcast comes out in production, because we're just filming it today. And then after that, we're going to release the podcast on our own Spotify. So we're going to get 3 mentions of each podcast, and we've scheduled a tour of 20 podcasts for our book, Your Will Be Done. Your Will Be Done. Go to toddsaylor.com. There's still a pre-sale offer going on until July 2nd, and the books are going to start shipping out somewhere. I'm sorry, the 2nd week in July, the books are going to be shipping out because the paperbacks will be coming into our fulfillment center, and we're going to be selling those books. But Your Will Be Done is a Christian mindset book that talks about how to triangulate your 2 wills, right? Your 2 wills. What are your 2 wills? I will tell you this. First and foremost, you have your own will, and there is God's will, right? God has created this ability for a moment in your life, right? He wants you to create your own moments. He wants you to have your own free will. He wants you to have that crazy story I had with my dad. He wants me to have that crazy story where I'm actually showing Jerry Vogel that I'm going to be the king of sales, right? And the funny thing about Jerry Vogel is he was a great man, and we lost him several years ago, but through all this next 15 years I spent with Jerry Vogel, he ended up giving his life to the Lord, and I'm just so grateful for that. So there, my will be done, and God's will was done through that moment that we created right there. But I want you to triangulate your 2 wills. 1, your free will, and then 2, most importantly, God's will for you, right? And if we have those 2 wills working in tandem, and we're triangulating those 2 wills, man, there's nothing you can't get done. There's no moment that you can't have. There's no promotion that can't be done to promote yourself and through God, with God's will, about God's message. My message to you is the gospel. My message to you is the truth, right? And this book is throwing it down. This is the first book had some spiritual concepts in it. The second book had a call to action, but this book really shows you how to become wired differently. The 3 stages of wired differently: the creation stage, the actualization stage, and then last but not least, the salvation and the triangulation stage of how to use your mind, your will in this world through God's will. I love this book. It's arguably the greatest book ever wrote by me, right? I really, really love this book. The workbook is out. And so basically, if you go to toddsaylor.com, my friends, let's wrap it up. If you go to toddsaylor.com, you can get this book on pre-sale right now. This book and the e-workbook you can get. And you can get the audio book. you get the ebook, you get, let's see, what else do you get? And free shipping. So this is a great opportunity for you guys to get this book for I believe $29.99. It will be done. $29.99 with the book for shipping. No shipping cost is going to be in that. You're going to get the ebook, and you're going to get the e-workbook, which is phenomenal. I'll be honest with you. I'm finishing the last 2 chapters right now. That'll be out by July as well with everything. And the audiobook, you're going to get the audiobook. So you can have the paperback, but you also have the audiobook. Lots of people listen to my books after they read them. And I think it's interesting because after I write my books and then I read them, I see 2 different things. And then when I listen to it on the audio, I have a whole third edition. Something else hits me. It hits me when I'm writing it. It hits me when I'm reading it. And honestly, when I listen to the audiobook, it's my favorite because, I don't know, it's just like going into my brain, a voice talking to me, and it brings things differently to a different perspective. And so I want to make sure you have the audiobook for that. I want to make sure you have the e-workbook. That's the electronic workbook, so you can finish the book and go through each chapter and reflect and find out how God's will work through you and how you and your free will work through God's will, right? Also, the electronic book, if you're flying and you don't want to carry a book around, you have that. You can reference it. You can work through that. And, of course, the free shipping. So, listen, get to toddsaylor.com where the special's still going on. You get all these things. It's a great thing. But I want you to make your moment. I want you to be your biggest fan. I want you to be your own promoter. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. Todd Saylor, I love you. I love you. I love you. I'm just wired a little bit differently, and so are you.